they still are the very first dental school in the world. I need a team to ground me to execute my visions, right? Because you're probably up until midnight thinking of all these new ideas. So that's the true pinnacle of being an entrepreneur, right?
Yep.
You don't see the founder of Subway making sandwiches every day.
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of Dental Marketing Theory. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I am the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want at your practice. And today we have a special guest, Dr. Grace, and we're going to jump into her journey of becoming a dentist, going and moving to a school that she didn't have any friends or family at, and really going through the ringer when it comes to working in a dental office. She's had every single position, and she decided to get into private practice and then built a community for moms. And she has a lot of interesting ideas that I know that are going to bring value to you, whether you're a mom and a practicing dentist or you're somebody who wants to just grow your organization. You're going to want to hear this because, as you know, about half of dentists coming out of school right now are female. And so this is going to be a growing trend that you're going to see. So you're going to want to stay tuned. So Dr. Grace, why don't you tell me how you got into the dental industry?
Sure, Gary. I'm happy to share my story. I started off as a dental assistant in university undergrad, and that was actually not an accident. My family dentist, who is a very close family friend, his daughter at the time was graduating UIC ortho residency and needed a dental assistant at her associateship positions.
Oh,
And so on the weekends, I would go follow her wherever she was working, and was her dental assistant, or that office would then give me hours for the other doctors, not just her. And that is how I started. But honestly, I was not interested in going into dentistry. I was studying in the School of Speech and majored in communication studies.
wow. Okay, so that's pretty unique. I interview a lot of doctors, and usually that is not the normal path. So what kind of broke for you to say, you know what, now I don't want to be a dental assistant, I want to be a doctor and go and practice? Like what helped you turn that corner?
Sure. Well, for 4 years of being a dental assistant in different offices, meanwhile, my pursuit for communications was going down that rabbit hole of journalism and hard news. I really wanted to be a television news anchor and wanted to pursue that as my career. However, after graduation, I had a 1-year internship, pursuing and going in that direction, and realized that I missed patient care. That was really my forte, was chairside assisting. And for orthodontia, the assistants really do everything, a lot of the work, while the doctors just hop from chair to chair. And my offices would call and say, can you fill in? Can you come back? Patients are looking for you. The patients that I really resonated with or had a really close relationship with were children of special needs, and the parents were looking for me to treat their children. And then I decided, maybe that is my calling. And I decided to apply to dental school. And luckily, the doctors that I worked for and mentored while I was a student always encouraged me to take just the basic prerequisite courses in case I wanted to go to dental school, so that I could jump right in, which I did do, and applied, and then went to University of Maryland for dental school to the East Coast, and left the Midwest and went to a school and a town where I knew no one.
Hey, sorry to disrupt the show, but I just have a quick commercial for you. We are going to be hosting 4 events over the next 12 months, and we're doing a little bit of everything for everybody. We have something around Full Arch. We have something for those that manage marketing. We have something for those that want to scale their practice at Dykema. And then also we have something next year that's for everybody in your practice to learn business skills and to really maximize the opportunities for you to grow your offices. You're not going to want to miss these. Visit smcnational.com/events. These are going to be the premier events that you're going to want to go to make sure that you're getting the tactical skills that you need to continue to grow the way that you want, because at SMC, we're all about growing. How'd you end up there? Like, what drove you to that town, that school?
I went and visited campuses like most students do. Maryland had a very strong clinical background, and that's what they were known for, was bringing students in the clinic early sophomore
Mm.
year. They still are the very first dental school in the world.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes,
Okay.
there's a dental museum that stands alone, separate from the dental school. A lot of great inventions. Maryland Bridge, developed by the dental school in Maryland. And when I walked into that school, I just had a feeling that I needed to go here. And I was lucky enough to be accepted, and that's where I went to school.
Okay, great. So I want to ask you this question. So I just was recently at UCLA and I was speaking to a lot of the students there, the dental students, and you can just tell they have so many questions, right? Like,
Sure.
should I start my practice? Should I go work for somebody else? Should I work for a private practice? Should I work for a DSO? And I can just see that it's so hard to make a decision like that because you don't have enough information to really make a life-changing decision, but you have to, right? Like
Sure.
it doesn't matter if you know the information or not. So when you wrapped up at Maryland, how did you make first of all, what decision did you make? Did you go out and practice with someone else? Did you start a practice? And then kind of walk me through like how you made that decision.
Absolutely. For any students that are listening, I decided to specialize. I was bored with orthodontics because that's what I knew. And even through not college, dental school, 4 years of dental school, I assisted in the orthodontic faculty and the residency. So I volunteer assisted. And then I also assisted some of the program directors and teachers at their private practice on the weekends. So I was a dental assistant as well through dental school. So 4 years of undergrad, 4 years of dental, being 8 years of ortho assisting. I decided, okay, I think I know ortho pretty well. And I decided to go into pediatric residency. I was accepted back at my hometown in Chicago. There are only 2 residency programs there. I went the hospital route, and it was a hospital-based residency, and that's what I did.
Okay. And then, so when did you decide, you know what, I want to open up my own practices and go down that road?
8 years of being in private practice as a dental assistant, I learned a lot and was
Mhm.
mentored a lot. And I worked every role in the office. I wasn't just chairside. I worked as the front desk. I filed
Mm.
insurance. I poured up models. I was the sterilization girl. You name it, I did it. I pulled charts back before it was digital. I had to phone patients to book appointments. I had to collect payment. I had to do every single job, including clean the toilets and throw out the garbage, wash the dishes. And I have to tell all the students that are listening, if you've never had that experience, you really need to do that first, even as a
Mm.
dental student, because then you learn the nuances. Every dental practice has a different personality. Every owner has a
Yeah.
different personality. Owning a practice in a business takes entrepreneurial skills. Not everyone is meant to do it. You may think it looks easy, and you may think that, oh, I that's what I want, but you really don't know until you have witnessed it and worked in it and have done all the roles. Because if you want to be a practice owner, how are you going to know how everybody else is performing if you've never done the job yourself?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. How do you, or even how do you hire the right person to manage everybody else? So you might be hiring somebody who, if you say, oh, I'll just hire an office manager. Well, how do you know if you're hiring the right office manager, right? Like
Right.
you don't even have that context.
You don't have the context. You don't know what you don't know. You don't even know what questions to even ask. Right. And everyone looks great on paper, and everyone will tell you they've done it. But how?
Yeah. That's so good. That is so, so good. So, okay, so now you say, okay, I've kind of done every single job. I've done everything from, from the bottom to the top. I've helped in every area. So now I'm a dentist and I can practice, and you practice for some time and then you decided to go out and open it up your own practice. Tell me a little bit about that process once you decided to jump into that boat, what that was like.
Absolutely. When you graduate dental school, you only know what you're taught. And it really depends on who your professors are and what they have taught you. Dentistry is so much more than textbook dentistry, okay? Dental procedures are so much more than what you learn in school. And the human body isn't always one size fits all. A
Mm,
lot of dentistry and procedures are based on intuition. Not everything will be science-based evidence dentistry. And yeah, you might have they'll teach you, okay, this is how you drill a class 2 filling or whatnot, but not every tooth looks like that. It might be a weird combination, or you might have to make an educated, not guess, but decision on what you're going to do with someone's mouth because it's not exactly the way it looks on paper. So my recommendation to anyone who is graduating dental school is to do a 1-year GPR, or
What is that? What is that? Just for me, I don't.
it's a general practice residency. If you're not
Okay,
going to specialize, if you're not going to
got it.
specialize, then do a GPR. If you're not going to go that, let's say your parents are dentists, or
Yeah,
your family members, then you're fine because you have somebody showing you the ropes. Okay.
yeah.
But if you don't have that and you don't have connections, when you're an associate, you can land in a really great opportunity or you can land in not so great opportunity,
Yeah.
right? What are the conditions like? Again, everybody's different. Everybody's talents are different. Maybe you are a savant and you are a savant dentist, right?
Hmm.
And you just have special skill sets and you're just the off the bell curve, right? And you might need a little bit of help, but not you got it, right? And you're like the next best thing to a prosthodontist. That is not the case for most people. For most students, you need extra practice, not just the dental like drilling, okay, but how to talk to a patient, how to sell treatment, how to talk to a dental assistant in your team, how to be a leader in your team, how to communicate, how to manage your time. All those things you have to learn, and I'm sorry to say, but in dental school you see one patient in 3 hours. That's not the real world.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a lot faster. It's getting thrown at you. Yep. And so, okay, so then you get into practice. So now you are a successful practice owner. You've learned the ropes. You went the hard route, right? So you went the hard way and kind of did every single job. Most dentists that I've talked to usually have a family member. That's how they get into dentistry, and they kind of point them in the right direction and tell them, no, don't do this, do this. And so you went the other route, and you kind of school of hard knocks, which is awesome. I think that's probably the best way to learn. And you got the successful practice, but now you are branching out into all these other areas of entrepreneurship. And there's kind of two worlds that I've seen, and I would just love your thoughts on this. I see dentists who are natural entrepreneurs, and so the next logical step for them is just to do that next entrepreneur thing. I'm like ADHD entrepreneur if it was up to me, and I would just like keep starting businesses all the time. You know what I mean? Because
Sure,
it's so much fun. Like, and I've had to learn, like, Gary, you can't do that. It drives everybody else nuts, right? And
sure,
it's not a recipe for success. But
sure.
then there's the other dentists who are really like they're more dentists than entrepreneur, and they kind of got into the entrepreneur boat, but then they kind of they fall out of love with the grind of the dental world. It's this repetitive thing, and they try to like compensate with other things and other entrepreneurial things, where like, and I'm not saying you're one or the other, because you don't, it's kind of like it's not you're this or this. It's kind of like you're on a scale. Where kind of did you fall in that world? Is it like, did you love being a dentist but you just wanted to continue to do the entrepreneur thing, or did you kind of fall out of love with dentistry and wanted to do something else? Where did you fall on that spectrum?
Great question. I love dentistry. I still love dentistry, and I'm actually lining up my malpractice as we speak. And in California, because I moved back. I moved here. I lived here once, moved back to Chicago. I'm back and forth now, but my license is still active, and my malpractice still active in Chicago. I had an opportunity to sell. I had two multi-location practices in pediatric orthodontics in the Chicagoland area. And I was at a point in which I was going to start my third. And it was a start. Both of them were new construction startup practices.
Mm.
And I was about to start a third one. However, then this mommy dentist business became a business. And I would say created my own lane because I don't know any other business that's like what I'm running right now.
Ah.
And for me, I would categorize myself as more of a visionary, and we often get bored. And like yourself, probably, Gary, and you
Yep.
drive other people crazy with all your ideas. But
100%.
it
Yeah.
takes a team. I need a team to ground me to execute my visions, right? Because you're probably up until midnight thinking of all these new ideas. And I decided, okay, well, I either open up the third practice or I put all my eggs in this MDIB basket. And I said, I'm not at a urgent point where I have to sell the practices. I could if I wanted to. And I decided anything for a number. If I get what I want out of it, then I'll walk.
Mm.
And then I'll explore this business. But it doesn't mean I can't go back to dentistry. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I can't start all over again. I could,
Yep.
right? But it's time for money and and taking risks, right? Part of being an entrepreneur is taking risks. And I decided, you know what? If I get the number I want for my practices, I'm going to sell at a high point and walk away. And I did. I didn't use a broker. I sold the two practices on my own and walked away. Literally not worked. I did not work one day in it after I handed over the keys. And I offered to stay. They said, no, you don't have to, because I created a business model in which the business runs without me.
That's
So,
that's
right.
the best kind of business,
So
right?
that's the true pinnacle of being an entrepreneur, right?
Yep.
You don't see the founder of Subway making sandwiches every day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you understand entrepreneurship and you understand the model or make a model that works for you and what you want, if you want to be an operator and practice in your practice, of course do that.
Yeah.
But you have the choice to do
Hmm.
it or not to do it.
Yeah. It's about the freedom, right? It's the
Right.
freedom to do what you want to do, whether that's doing dentistry, really technical dentistry,
Right.
or only doing all on four or
Right.
clear, whatever it is.
You choose.
Or, yeah, I love that.
Right.
Yep.
But for me, what I want to teach the young ones is create intention, right? But you need to be an apprentice before you can get to that level. You have to have
Yeah.
mastered the art. You have to have control and mastered your art to
Hmm.
really know it and to
So
move
is that
forward.
So why did you create the mom group that you have for dentistry? Like what like I get it, like you had these three practices, they're doing well, you had more time, so it's like, hey, we're gonna create this, but why that? You could have done anything. You could have created a clear aligner brand, you could have created a consulting company, you could have created all these different things. Like what drove you to go and start that kind of support for the dental industry?
So that was actually organic and by chance, Gary. I started June 2017, and there was no marketing, no nothing. It just exploded. And for me, I didn't start it with any intention. It was just actually for me and my group of friends to be in touch. As mothers, we have less time to go on girls' trips or go to extra CE. We only do the C that we need for our license credentials or a part of our local dental society. It's very difficult to have mom life and work life and to do it all, right? I created a Facebook group really just for me and my friends. And I said, it's really for women who it's easy communication. You come and go as you please. It could be 2 in the morning and you could ask a question, and then you can pop on the next day or the next week, and it's easy breezy, come and go as you please. Now it got to the point, I had tried to contain it a little bit. I wanted to know everyone who was coming and going in the group, but it blew past that, right?
Yeah.
And but the standards I kept, and I always ask the community, what are this community rules that we should have in place? And I always include everyone in the community because it's important that they have ownership of it too, right? It's a
Hmm.
safeguarded place because they have ownership. It's not just my way or the highway.
Hmm.
And for
That's awesome, by the
me,
way.
it's a private Facebook group. And yeah, I consider it my Facebook group. There's some personal nuances to it, but it's gotten bigger than me, I would
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question around the being a mom and being in dental, because when did you start this group? What year was it that you started the?
2017.
Okay, so dentistry's changed a lot since then, because at that time, I don't know the percentages, but it was much lower. Practice women in dentistry as dentist was much lower. And now coming out of school, I think it's about 50-50 or 55% women and
Yeah. Yeah.
45%. So it's like it went from like this 90-10% thing to now it's like it's tipped totally in the other direction. And a lot of the people that are coming, or a lot of the women that are coming into dental, don't have kids yet, don't haven't started building their family and those kind of things yet. But I'm sure as time goes on, they will do that. So what has kind of changed in that world that have driven a lot more women into that dental position? And then my next question after that, so what's changed since 2017 to 2023 to make that scale tip in the other direction? And then what's coming for these people, the women that are coming into dental that want to build families in the future and those kind of things? Like, what's going to come to them that they should be aware of?
Well, I think that since 2017, I think people have figured out there's a great work-life balance for women in dentistry. You can own or not own.
Hmm.
I don't know what's making dental schools change their acceptance rate. I don't know if it's more women applying or it's just that dental schools are more accepting. I don't
That's a
know.
great point. Yeah,
Okay.
because I think more women are going to college now overall too. So I think that's
Could be.
something that's just like a society thing
It,
overall.
it could be. We don't know. Now, when
Hmm.
I went to Maryland and graduated in 2003, we had pretty large amount of women. We had about, I would say, 30 to 40% women in our class. So even back then in 2003, at least in Maryland, we had good representation of women. So I'm not really sure how to speak on behalf of other dental schools and their admission process.
Hmm.
But the reality is more and more women are graduating, and then eventually more and more women become a mom in some sort of way, whether it's
Yeah.
foster adoption or traditional or stepmom, what have you. The community again speaks and they make these rules, right? We do have another Facebook group called the Dental Mama Hive, and it's for women who are not yet mothers.
Ah.
And even though we created it, it is not very active. And so it's interesting, right? And so that might be a social media thing that these younger people are not on Facebook,
Ah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Because yeah, I have noticed that when I talk to younger students in the dental industry, um, they're always on Instagram, like
Right.
Instagram, but you can't build community and all that
Right.
stuff on Instagram.
Instagram's a little bit more one way, right?
Yeah,
And it's
yep,
a little bit more private too.
it is.
Like
Yeah,
you can not have followers or followers. It's a
yeah.
very
You can have special follow, close
right.
followers. Yeah,
So Instagram is not really great at building community versus Facebook. Yet that younger generation is not. They don't. Some of them don't even have Facebook, right? So
yeah, yeah.
it's an unknown platform for them.
Got it. Okay. That's really, really interesting. I'm glad you called that out, but I'm glad you're also thinking about that and thinking about their future, because that, there's something that, they're going to have to deal with as time goes on. So I think it's great that there's people like you thinking through that for people and helping them and building the community, and not just trying to provide all the answers, because we can never provide all that. No one person can provide all the answers, but you're building a community that's supporting each other to be able to continue to move forward. So I think that's awesome. How, if someone wants to reach out to you and talk to you about the groups that you have or just what you have going on, what's the best way to get in touch with your organization?
Sure, you can find us on our website, mommydibs.com. You can find us on Instagram. We do have a large Instagram following, and actually there's just a lot of different ways you can find us on obviously Facebook, and you can reach out through all those different platforms, and our team will get back to you quickly.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, sharing your journey. I know that people are going
My
to
pleasure.
love hearing about this and love what you're building. You guys are building some really cool stuff. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing today.
Absolutely, my pleasure. Thank you. Have a good one.